guys, welcome back. I am going to be doing another Majesty Flower for you guys today. I'm going to try some different colors again. So today I'm going to be doing a green and yellow and hopefully getting a little teals blues in there. So I have a butterscotch by Octopus fluid, that's a resin ink. And I'm going to be using green apple, again, Octopus fluids resin ink. And then for my mica today, I'm going to be using the Jacquard Pearl EX and Duo Aqua Blue. Then of course for my white, I'm using Pouring Your Heart Out, Julie Kutz's Bloom Paste for my white. It works really well with the Majesty. So when it works, I don't have to fix anything, so I just keep doing it. So I'm going to start off like I normally do, making my white. I've already kind of shaken this up to get it nice and mixed up. And so what I'm going to do is just go ahead and open that just a little bit. And then I'm going to get my cup ready and start dropping my drops in here. This white is going to end up being fairly opaque. So I'm going to drop a few drops in there to start with. And with these pastes, a little bit goes a long way, but that also means that sometimes, especially if you don't open it up all the way, which you shouldn't because it'll just pour out, you have to squeeze a little bit harder for it to come out. And oftentimes, if you see a drip starting to form, let it go and just let it drip, and then you're good. So this will be my last one of here. There we go. There's going to be a little left over, so I'm just going to get my wipe and clean that off a little bit because I don't want it to dry over the lid there. Oops. And give this a good stir. Now this Majesty Flower, something that I created, but it's really a combination of a few different techniques. So I like to say it's inspired by a couple of different folks. And when I first started resin and watching courses and learning how to do different designs and learning really the science behind it, I watched a lot of Pouring Your Heart Out on YouTube from Julie Kutz. She's a lovely lady down in Australia. She's actually who I get a lot of my molds from. So this mold right here is one of Julie's newest ones. It's the Ruffle Live Edge mold. And it's got these really pretty fine crystal edges in there. So I actually just got this in the mail today. So I was super excited to try out my new mold. And I will put a link for it for you all down in the comments. So there's Pouring Your Heart Out. And then I also watch Lilian from Resin Art by Lilian. So she's got a few really good techniques. And then, lastly but not least, taking courses online from ResinCourses.com from the lovely Majka. So I will gladly go ahead and promote all three of those ladies and link them down below for you all to access. You can learn alongside me because I sure know that still learning. But I love just learning and then kind of going with it and eventually just kind of making my own design. So that's what this Majesty Flower is. It's my first unique design. And I've been getting really good, consistent results. And so just wanted to try a different color combination for you guys today. So this white is pretty opaque. You can't really tell because it's on a white stick, but You can kind of tell the difference at the edge right here of the different whites, and it's pretty opaque. Now, I didn't mention this before, but I'm using iCrystal from ResinPro, which is a very thin, low viscosity resin. So you can just kind of tell that it's, you know, just super runny. It's like water, okay? iCrystal is a 2-to-1 ratio low viscosity resin. I love it. It really works well for this Majesty Flower because it allows it a lot of time to just, the resin to just work, the colors to soak in and blend together. And then the great part about it is iCrystal is one that doesn't take a whole lot of time to cure. So typical like 8 to 10 hour demold time and full 24-hour cure. Sometimes the 2-to-1 ratios that are low viscosity take longer to cure, but iCrystal is not, that I have found, so that's good. All right, I'm moving on to my first color, so Butterscotch, the resin ink from Octopus Fluids. And for this one, I was really kind of hoping to get a brighter yellow, so I am not going to use as many drops here. I'm going to start off with 3 and see what that looks like here. I don't want it too warm or too orangey, so this may be enough, but I'll have to check it on the side of the cup. It always looks darker in the cup than it does when you pull it out. And the other thing to consider when you're making the Majesty Flower is that you're going to be using this white on top of your colors. So your colors are already going to be a little bit more pale than how you mix them up. So that's just something to consider also. If you're looking for a big, bold, dark color, you're really going to want, when you mix it, to make it really very dark. But for me today, that's not really what I want to, that's not really what I'm going for. I'm going for more of a light, airy kind of Majesty Flower today. So this is still super transparent, but you see when I pull it up on the side of the cup, it is still, it's a very pretty bright yellow. So I think I'm going to keep that there today. Yeah, I think I'm going to keep it there today at 3 drops. Just give it another good stir here. Alright, so I'm going to set that aside for right now, put my lid back on, and make my notes real quick so I don't forget. There's 3 drops of that butterscotch. Next, I'm going to do my greens. So this is going to be my main color on the outside of my Majesty Flower. So green apple resin ink from Octopus Fluids. My outside colors have, in the past couple of Majesty Flowers I've done, been darker. And I don't want it too dark, but it's definitely going to carry some. So, and I also wanted to bleed into the yellow and blend in to make a pretty blue. So I do want a decent amount of color in here. So I'll start off with 4 drops. This does have a bit more resin in it than the yellow does. So I have to take that into consideration too. And that is really pretty green in there, but I know I'm going to want it darker. So after I give it a good stir here, wipe off my stick, and I'm going to add probably 2 more drops and see what that gives us. Let me give 2 more drops here. That's looking better. It's a really pretty, like, emerald green almost that it looks like in the cup. Let's check it. That's actually still pretty light compared to that yellow. I think I'm actually going to add I think I'm going to be a little adventurous and add 2 more. That's still quite a bit lighter than I wanted. Normally when I get to this stage, I usually start adding 1 drop at a time, but like I said, I guess I'm just feeling a little adventurous today. Let's check this. Ah, there we go. There's getting to be pretty green. So I'm going to pull the butterscotch, the yellow, back over here. Take a look at it next to each other real quick. I always like to just check the 2 colors side by side to see what they look like on the side of the cup. So let's take a look here. That yellow, there's quite a bit more almost opacity to it, although it's still perfectly translucent. It just feels a little heavier. So I think I'm gonna make the green a little darker. Let's do 1 this time. Playing it safe. Can always add more. Can't take away. And if you ever get to a point where you feel like you don't want to add more drops just to make it darker, you can always add a dab of black, which I did in my other Majesty Flower video before this. The blue and pink, I think it was. I didn't want to have to use black. I don't think I'm going to have to. I think I'm going to stick with this. Okay. Alright, I think I'm good with this. When you get it in that little pile there, it's a little darker than when it just falls down on the cup. With these low viscosity resins, it's hard to tell sometimes exactly how dark a color may or may not be, because it's so thin, it just goes right back down into the cup. So when I scoop it up, I try to look right away at what's pooled there on the stick and kind of go by that. So, but that's looking really good. So I'm going to keep it there at 7 drops of green apple. Really pretty green. Alright, so the last thing we're going to do is mix up our mica. And again, that's Jacquard's Pearl EX in Duo Aqua Blue. I thought this would be a really awesome color. Oops, it's not open yet. I thought it would just be a really great color to blend, to accentuate the blend of the green and the yellow resin inks that I'm using. So I was hoping, since the mica is kind of an inner layer of the Majesty Flower, that this might be a great accent to that blend. So I'm gonna get a decent amount on here. I can always add more, but you want your mica to be pretty opaque. So sometimes this can be a little tricky. And again, you can always add more. So here, I'm going to start off with this, so you can kind of see how much I have there. And this is a larger size popsicle stick, except they're reusable from Color Berry. They're their forever sticks. So I'm going to start off with that amount in my mica cup of resin. And mica is usually easier to blend when it doesn't fly everywhere, kind of like it is now. If you put your mica in first before your resin and then pour your resin over it. But I wanted to be able to show you guys how much I was using. So, and the other thing is, when you mix it in this order, so you put your mica into the resin that's already in the cup, you really have to scrape around the edges even more so than you normally do, because the little pieces that flew up are probably sticking to the side of the cup, and you don't want those little bits to fall down into the resin unmixed, because then you're going to end up with little spots, freckles in your finished piece, which surely are going to be pretty because they're a good color, but they do definitely stick out in the design. So right now, I'll show you what I've got now for the opacity. It's actually pretty translucent. So I think I'm gonna add a touch more. I'm not obviously gonna stick that stick in my mica bottle. So I'm not gonna add quite as much as I did the first time, but I am gonna add a decent amount. So I would say that from my perspective, maybe that's about half of what I had the first time, okay? This is probably the one thing in resin so far that I haven't really measured precisely in any of my projects that I've used mica in. I just kind of eyeball it and see when I mix it, depending on whether I want the mica color translucent or more opaque, and just keep mixing until I think it's right. So kind of similar when you're making the colors, really. But yeah, it's hard to tell. At least the colors, I know how many drops. With the mica, I don't even know if it's a 1/4 teaspoon, 1/8 of a teaspoon, or anything. Maybe I'll get better about that as the time goes on. Alright, let's take a quick peek at this. So, you can still see the stick through there, but especially when I first pull it out, it is definitely more opaque than it was before. So, I think I'm going to keep it there. It's so pretty. As you saw, this was a brand new bottle. Haven't used this one before. It was out of stock in several places that I normally order from, and then I happened upon it at a local art store, so I grabbed it. Ooh, I'm gonna be really glad I did. Look how pretty that is. Alright, we are good to go. Close up my bottle. So when we get started with this design, I'm gonna first clean my mold real quick because that's bothering me. I see a couple flecks of stuff. They're likely from, oh, sorry, I can't feel the tape open. They're just likely from mixing, getting everything ready, which is fine, but I don't want it in my finished piece, especially since it looks a little pinky, and I don't have any kind of red or pink in this design, in this particular one. So, get my glove back on. I'm just going to use a piece of tape and get some of those little pieces off. After this, I'm going to bag my white, just so it's ready. It's kind of used towards the end and the middle and the end of the design, but I like to always just have it ready, so it's one less thing to do and waste a little less time. So I do use a piping bag for this. The design isn't all that complex per se, but I have been very careful on how I lay down the design, that it doesn't overlap when I make the initial design. So that's why I like the piping bag, is because I cut a hole that's pretty precise and I'm able to better control my design there at the beginning. And then also able to control the design a little bit better on my last round of white that I do after we let it rest for just a few. Alright, and I do keep a cup of just 99% isopropyl alcohol off to the side. Sorry for the crunchy. And so after I'm done mixing, I always just throw my sticks in there and go back to cleaning them after I'm done. Tie up my baggie, and I'll wait to cut it until right before we use it. All right, so I've got my white. I'll just let that sit in the cup. All right, I'm gonna give these one last stir of the colors and dump my sticks in my cup to get cleaned up later. My butterscotch, my yellow. My green apple. And my mica. Duo aqua green. Is it aqua green? No, aqua blue. I knew that wasn't right. Duo aqua blue. There is a duo aqua, not aqua. There is a duo blue green. Maybe they should make a duo aqua green since I keep wanting to say that. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna take our darker color, our green, and I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be a darker color, but my first color, the one that you want on the outside, and I'm gonna pour, I don't know, about a third of it, half of it, so that it makes this outside ring. And since this is the first time I'm using this mold, I'm trying to be careful because I don't want to close it up in the center. I want some white there to pour the yellow into. So I'm just gonna leave that there for just a second. Get a little bit of my yellow down, probably about half. Okay. And then, oh, come on, drip. There you go. And I'm going to go back with the green, go back around the outside edge. And I kind of, when I pour this outside ring, go up against the mold because I want more of the solid colored green, not necessarily to already start mixing the yellow and green together. So I try to get it closer to the outside there. And as you see, I'm trying to make it so that yellow kind of stays centered. Not always easy, but try my best. All right, when I pour the rest of my center color in, I try to do it kind of slow so it doesn't just all whoosh out and take the green away, my outer color. So I'm just gonna kind of slowly pull it in. Of course, it's gonna spread some, but I've found doing it slower, I still maintain more of the outer color. So that's what I've been doing lately, and I like it. All right, so those are my two colors. Now, before we start the white, we're gonna pour the mica, and the mica goes kind of about halfway to the center, from the edge to the center. So this mold is a little bit trickier in that you have these outer kind of petal spaces, what I'm going to call it since I'm making a Majesty Flower, but these outer line areas here versus this inner part. So I'm usually going to gauge where my center color is where on the outside edge of that is where I'm going to pour my mica. So that's kind of what I'm going to use here as a frame of reference. So kind of just right over the area that the colors have blended together. I'm gonna pour a couple of rings of this mica to use it all up. And the reason I like to put it in this space is because it's going to blend nicely with both colors, and it's been staying kind of in this area. So it's really kind of cool. You can see, like in my original Majesty here, the mica has stayed kind of in this middle center section here. And it's just floated a tiny bit out into the outer circle. So I've loved seeing how that is working. Love it. So again, another thing that works really well with the design that I'm not going to change. Don't broke it if it ain't fixed, as they say. I'm going to give this a quick torch before I do my white. Clear up some of those bubbles. All right, so when I cut the piping bag to my white, I do cut it kind of small. So about there. Now we're ready to do the design. So the design for this, oops, that came out a little bit. The design for this are loops. And these loops, that was a little big to start, are gonna be several rows along the mold and following the design of the mold. But each row, I want it to be kind of independent. I don't want them to overlap a whole lot when I get to my second row. So that's why I use the piping bag. There was no way that I'd be able to use that control with a cup. So as I start the second one, I go a little bit slower because I want it to barely touch or not quite touch that first row. I found that this helps give more defined puffy petals, and it doesn't all just blend into one big white spiral. I think that's what's giving some of the delineation of the puffy petals. So now I'll continue that as I keep going in. Continue the same kind of spacing where I'm barely touching that row before. And I am going to go all the way into the center. If you've watched my other video, you know that one of my favorite parts of this is that I don't have to use any center decoration. Just get to let it be. So that's one of my favorite parts, is that I don't have to use any kind of glass or glitter, anything like that. Certainly can, and I might someday put it in, but a lot of us that have been doing resin for a while really struggle with getting designs that have been designs or techniques that have been designed so far that have closed in the center. In fact, we've tried really hard to figure out ways to get it to close more, like by suctioning some out of the back when we make it, putting more ingredients of certain kinds in there, all sorts of things. Really to just be frustrated in the end and it kind of messing up the design in the process. So when I first was doing this design and got that closed center, and I just let it be, it does it all on its own. So excited about that. So anyways, that's what we're still going to go for today, is that closed center. So I do put the white all the way in there. So at this point, I'm going to give it a quick torch, and then I let it sit. Usually, I think in my last video I said 5 to 7 minutes, but sometimes as long as 10. What I'm looking for really is for the white to start closing in and almost be like this outer ring of the blue right here. So not the center, but the 1, 2, 3rd row here to really move more in. So I'm going to give it a quick torch, and then I'm going to pause the video because I don't still know how to do time lapse yet. So I'm going to pause the video and I'll see you back in a few. Hey guys, just wanted to hop back on. I totally forgot that I already did the one round of the white, and then I paused the video, but I actually put 2 rounds of white before I let it spread in. So I've already done it off video recording, but the reason you see more white right now is literally 30 seconds ago, I just put a second round of loops all the way around from the outside into the inside. So just wanted to hop back on real quick and let you know what I did. Be back in about 5 minutes. All right, so it has been just over 10 minutes and this hasn't closed up quite as much as it normally does. I usually have more of a translucent border of my outside color, more like kind of what it's showing right there, but I don't want to get the rest of my resin too warm and let it set too much longer. I'm going to go ahead and finish out the pattern. Yeah, we'll see if it works. Part of the beauty and anxiety that comes with doing resin work, especially when you're doing new molds. So, all right, so this final round of the loops on the outside, I am very careful. Usually it's a little easier. I'm very careful to try to not get in the way of the first round that's kind of moved in. Okay, so they're going to be pretty small on this one because I'm still going to try to keep it that way. I'm going to clean up that drip real quick. So I'm going to try my best. That's not working out very well, but these are going to be pretty small. And normally, like I said, I have more of that translucent color of that outer ring that I try to get these little loops in. So I'm not sure if this is going to actually turn out the same way it normally does, but we'll hope it does. So this row of petals really helps to essentially push in the design that you've already made. So that's it on the white. As you can tell, I've tried to stay super close to the edge there. So the last thing that we do, and before I do that, I'm gonna try to zoom in real quick because you can see through this yellow that the original pattern is actually almost already closing in on the bottom there. So I'm gonna zoom in to see if you can see that real quick. I don't know if that works for you guys. Let me see here. But that is most definitely closing in the white over there. So, pretty cool. So, but right now, we are going to do the final clear push and let it close in. So, you'll notice when I put this clear push in, since that white's already starting to close, you'll notice when I pour this clear in that you'll see the white pattern there because it's already closing in. So this white final push I do pretty gently. So I'm going to go ahead and pour it in the center. And I'll lift up the cup up real quick. But you can kind of see there's just a little bit of that mold left there, of that white mold. The other stuff that looked more creamy is that initial pattern that we drew with the loops. It's pretty awesome. So I still have just a tad bit of resin left. You can see around the edges I'm almost right up to the edge. I did make up 180 grams of iCrystal, 120 of A, and 60 of B. And since this is my first time using it, wanted to just have enough because Julie from Pouring Your Heart Out said on her description of this item, again the ruffle live edge mold, that it holds about 180 grams. So I figured that I'll make up that much, and then I knew on this final push I needed to be really careful to make sure I didn't overfill the mold, and it's looking really great. So guys, at this point we're just gonna let it be, wait it out. And since I can't do time lapse yet, I'll figure it out sometime. I'm going to pause the video, and then in about a half an hour or so, I'll come back and show you what it looks like, because you'll already see that this center, even though it's still clear right now, it's only about the size of I don't know, probably a dime, it'll be closed already within a half an hour about. So I will come back in about a half an hour, turn the video on for a second so you guys can see that, and then we'll demold it tomorrow. Bye guys. Hey guys, I actually went to go run an errand, so it's been about 45-50 minutes, but you can see that it's closed up already in the center. So I'm gonna zoom in, try to refocus, but there you go. So it is all closed up in the center all on its own. I didn't do anything to it, and since the last time I've seen you, there's no decoration, no glass, no glitter, nothing in there. So now we just let it be, and this is the hardest part. This is almost harder for me than demolding and finding out that I don't really like the design, or that it's just not what I thought it was going to be. This waiting is tough. So see you guys in a few more hours. Hi everyone, welcome back. I am excited to demold this Majesty Flower. So this is the one I actually poured just a few hours ago. I haven't gone to bed yet because I really wanted to get this out. It looks really interesting to me for a couple different reasons that I'll point out. So this is my new Majesty Flower design, and I'm using my brand new mold from Julie from Pouring Your Heart Out. And here's what's interesting to me. That blue mica, the blue mica has ended up in the middle. It's closed, but usually it's my secondary color in the middle, which would have been the yellow, that's closed up in the middle. So I'm really curious to unmold this and see just what that center is all about. Plus, I'm just really excited to see what this mold looks like, since it's my first time using it. So let's take this out, see what it looks like. Nervous that it's not going to look the same as my other Majesties do, and that's okay. Hopefully just whatever it looks like looks really cool. So let's take a peek. Oh wow. Alright, well, that's cool. That is not at all what I was, I mean, it is what I was expecting, you guys. I mean, the mica has stayed in the center, but it kind of took over my center. Let me get my other Majesty here. So, in this mold, you can see that, you know, my colors have still stayed here in the center, and then my mica is kind of around. Whereas with the one I poured with you guys, my mica took over the yellow, and it's still closed, which is awesome. Got this interesting looking, you know, kind of Y shape in here that's closed up over it. So anyways, I mean, the mica did stay, which is very cool. And I'm bringing this up a little closer, trying to stay out of the ring light too. But look at these little petals, guys. That's pretty cool. Those little striated petals. You see all those color differences too, between the blues and the greens. Okay, well, I guess I call this a new take on my Majesty. Still got the mica in the middle, the shimmery, stayed out of the edges. Really cool delineation in the pattern here, given, you know, the new mold, the ruffle mold from Julie with these fine crystal edges. It looks really good. Ah, such cool patterns in here with the coloring. Alright, lots to take in on this one, I guess. Pretty cool. I kind of love it. Ah, yes, sorry, I keep coming back to look at it. Look at all those cool colors. Okay. Alright, I will take some pictures And we'll call it good for today. So there's 2 different Majesties poured the same way. Different colors, different mold. You get 2 different things. Very cool. Alright, bye guys.